Alright, here we go. So I know y'all hate tier limits, but I guarantee you this is one of the craziest matches that you will ever witness in Master Duel. Okay, I don't really have a play right here, but watch and see what happens. So I'm just going to set the tortoise, set the crime, and then just pass my turn, right? My opponent activates 1 for 1. This will special summon, so I chain Max C, and it gets ashed. Wow. Okay. So it gets ashed, and it looks like he's playing the deck that 1 turn kills. This monster by itself cannot survive this brutal beating that this deck can put on. So I'm going to chain Kelbeck, try to send this card back to his back into his hand, and then he has emergency teleport. He has everything. Okay, so now he's going to send some monsters to his graveyard, and now he's doing his Yaman plays. Now, here's the one thing you don't want to do playing against a tier limits player. If you see that you have me beat, for sure you should not mill my deck. Because if my deck is consistent enough like I think it is, you mill my deck and it is a GG. You put me back into the game. That's the one thing you do not want to do. Now, let's see what happens. So he's going to check 4 cards in his deck and then start milling. Then he goes into Zombie Vampire, which mills 4 cards off the top of both of our decks. And what does he hit? This is why you don't mill your opponent. When they're playing tier limits, you do not mill them for this reason, especially if you're not playing tier limits too. Running the Ishizu cards is not going to help you for this reason here. Now, he does have an Ishizu card in his graveyard. He has 1 Keldo. 1 Keldo. So what does that mean? That means that if I activate Merly, he can stop that with his Keldo. But he can't stop Elgato, which means there's 5 more cards about to get sent to my graveyard. And I have Sulliek right here, which can grab me a Havness. So no more monster effects on your side of the field, my boy. So I grab Havness and then mill. And then he's activating like crazy. I start activating like crazy. And then I shuffle a bunch of his cards back into his deck. And then I fusion summon into Kaleido Heart right here. Now, the reason I go Kaleido Heart because I need to clear some monsters off of his field, so then that way he cannot 1 turn kill me, because I cannot take an attack from these 2 monsters. And if I do, I need to at least weaken them some. So I'm going to use my shuffler to shuffle back some of his cards. Now, I really did not have the time to read all of the cards, so I probably didn't hit all of his Skull Servants, but it's okay. So he activates Fairy Tale Snow. I activate Medora, hit a bunch of his Skull Servants to weaken these monsters. He activates Fairy Tale Snow to banish some of them. It drops them down in attack. And then I activate Keldo to send that back, and then he activates Fairy Tale Snow. So the first thing I do is summon Millennium Eyes Restrict. Why did I go Millennium Eyes Restrict? Millennium Eyes Restrict pretty much stops him in his tracks, because if he had activated anything, I grab his Skull Servant, and then he has to enter the battle phase to get over this first, because any of his King of Skull Servants will be completely negated and they will be counteractive to what he's trying to do. So I forced him to enter the battle phase earlier than what he wanted to by going into Millennium Eyes Restrict. Hopefully that makes sense. He attacks. Now, it does not matter at this point if I draw a tier limits monster, if I draw anything, none of it matters, because I have the consistency already. I can go into a very good tier limit play based on literally what I have. If he wiped everything out of my hand, everything off the field, and I just had a graveyard to work with, I have what I need. because in my graveyard, the Pearl of Reno is right here, Exchange of Spirit is right here, and the Tortoise is in my deck. So all I have to do is activate either Keldo or Medora and shuffle the field spell back into my deck. And then I can activate Rainbow Bridge of Salvation and then grab the field spell, and then that'll get me my plays started. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And now that I have a monster in hand, Crime is now also ready to be used. So that's what I do. So I activate the Pearl of Rhino right here, summon out Rhino Heart, send the Sheeran, and then I go into Kid Kalos. I go to pop his King of the Skull Servants. He's going to activate the Al Ghul. The Al Ghul is going to try to summon itself onto the field. I'm going to negate that with Crime. And then I'm going to start milling. I mill 8 cards. I'm going to Predaplant Draco Stapelia. Activate Stapelia, putting a counter on his King of Skull Servant. It's not going to do anything because it already has its life points, but whatever. I just did it just because. Honestly, the real reason I went into Draco Stapelia was just to put my Kaleido Heart back into the deck. Then I go into Baron de Fleur, popping his King of the Skull Servant right here. Shuffle a bunch of his cards back into the deck. And then I go into Abyss Dweller, activate the Abyss Dweller, locking him out of his graveyard, and then next turn he will still be locked out of his graveyard if he manages to survive this attack, because I got Gravekeeper's Trap with Exchange of Spirit. All I have to do is flip this card over and it is a GG. And not only is it a GG, it's already a GG because he's under Abyss Dweller. I got a Baron de Fleur, Omni Negate, Rule Kalos, Special Summon Negate, Sprite Elf, Revive, a pop with Pearl of Reno, Gravekeeper's Trap to shut down his graveyard, and then in my graveyard, Cyberstein right here. So all I would have to do, revive or bring back Cyberstein with Sprite Elf. I basically get access to the Naturia Exterio. Of course, I didn't go that route. I wanted the Baron de Fleur so I could pop his King of the Skull Servant. That way I didn't have to try to come up with a way to get around that King of the Skull Servant. I prefer to just pop it with Baron. I popped the other one with the Pearl of Reno. So very easy. Just simply just get rid of it. Lock it into the graveyard with the Abyss Dweller, and that's pretty much it. It's a GG's from this point. I mean, what else do you want? If he activated any monster effects, I was ready with Triple Tactics Talent, but he did not activate any monster effects during my main phase. So yeah. So I just attack, 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 and attack for a game. Y'all can't tell me that I'm not the greatest player of all time, bro. Like, let's look at this man's deck, bro. This man was ultra ready to OTK, and I shut all that down. And I'm like that. I'm like that, bro. I'm like that. I be winning. That's what I do. Here's the deck. Everybody always asking me what my deck list is. This is my deck. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.